Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Slappin Kpop podcast. I'm Sammy, and with me today I have Kayla.
Hello.
And this week we're going to do a K-drama episode for the new Netflix drama Extracurricular.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, this was a show.
This show was a journey.
It's really a journey. That's the best way I can describe it.
So if you don't know, this is since Netflix started essentially partnering up with different Korean productions and making their own K-dramas, April 29th, they just dropped this 10-episode show and was like, here's the new K-drama, and it was insane. It's one of
absolutely insane,
most unique K-dramas I've ever seen.
Also, obviously, spoilers for the entire drama will happen in this podcast. So if you want to watch it first, go do that, or else you're going to get spoiled on the whole thing, because we will talk about all the spoilers here.
And going into the show knowing nothing is probably the best way to go into
it,
because all the marketing for the show has been very vague. So if we can just do a really quick spoiler-free review of this show for the people that don't want to get spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is that it's unlike anything I've ever seen, especially for as a young adult drama.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible. I loved it.
It's really good. It's a very mature drama. Like, it's rated M,
R,
essentially.
It's an R-rated drama.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that it's R-rated.
Yeah.
So take that into account, and there's a reason it never aired on television, because I don't think you could air it on television.
I don't think it could. It could probably air on, like, an HBO equivalent, maybe.
Yeah. Again, it's a cable. It would be a cable.
Yeah.
It'd still be a cable R, but again, I think also the fact that it's dealing with kids.
That's, I think, the big part of it.
That's the big thing. Yeah. So, it's really good, and you should go watch it. Now, from here on out, we're going to spoil everything.
Yes. Spoiling everything. So, the reason the two of us ended up watching this was I was looking through Netflix for a new K-drama to watch, and I was very much in, like, a darker, like, I wanted, like, a dark crime drama type of a thing to watch.
As we keep saying, your top tag on my drama list is
it's like death. Of course.
And murder and mystery.
Death and murder. So yep.
Mine is romance and happy endings.
That's also very relevant to the dramas that we followed up this show with, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. What our palate cleanser was after this show.
So I just decided to watch this one because I knew it was a new drama this year and I had heard pretty good things about it, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And just to quickly read the description of the drama that's on my drama list, it says, Extracurricular is centered around 3 high school students who start committing crimes to earn money and the unpredictable dangers they will face as a result. So, based off of, that's essentially like the description. It's like everywhere on the internet. It's worded differently, but that's essentially the description you get of it.
That's what everybody knows.
Yeah. And so seeing that, and then seeing that in Netflix, one of the posters they use for it is just like the main girl, and she's like surrounded by money. I had thought that it was some type of like illegal gambling or something, and that's what I had thought this drama was going to be about. And now, boy, is that not it.
Nope. Because, mind you, I also had seen that, and I was also, for as much as I love my romances and happy endings, it's my main stuff, I also love my dark dramas, because I'm also a big horror movie fan. And I thought that this was going to be about drugs. Since he's young and it's R-rated, I thought that since this would never air in Korea, so I thought, drugs would never air on Korean television, I thought he was a high school drug dealer. I
wouldn't have been that shocked if it was drugs. Like, drugs is like, yeah, sure. Makes sense.
I wouldn't have been that surprised if it was gambling either, because it's like, well, gambling is also not super
it's like illegal. It's illegal.
Gambling
in Korea,
is illegal in Korea for even adults, much less for kids.
Yeah. And so,
turns out we're both wrong.
We're both wrong. Pretty shortly into the first episode, you are made aware that the main character is essentially a high school pimp. And he runs a prostitution ring.
Right? He essentially, through voice manipulation software and the power of the internet is running a prostitution ring in Seoul out of his hakseng, essentially. In his hakseng, in his high school, at all times, he's just running
I was like, oh wow. And also, it's made known pretty early on, one of his classmates works for him.
He does not know that. So he is unknowingly participating in child prostitution.
Yep.
But it's happening because it's like happening. In the first episode you realize, oh Lord, it's getting worse.
It is. And I was just like, oh, so this is the direction we're going with this drama.
This is what we're doing.
This is what we're doing here.
This is how we're starting, and this is how it's gonna go. Okay. And then it just sort of... This show also is not... It plays everything so serious. Like, it's not... Like, there's a way to turn this into a joke, into a dark comedy. No, it plays it full straight. These characters are so... Like, there's so much swearing in this show.
There's so much, like, an unnecessary amount of swearing.
It's almost, because again, we both swear a decent amount, and we're both like, we know how people talk. There's and a lot of this might be sort of translation. I'm not sure how this plays to a person that actually speaks Korean. Neither of us do, but there's just every line almost essentially has at some points especially when the teenagers are talking to each other, every line almost has a swear word in it. Especially with characters like Kitae and his gang of
people,
hoodlums. Do I want to go absolutely like an 80-year-old woman and go hoodlums? Hoodlums, like there's a swear word every other line, and you're just like, oh my god.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. If we should like run down the main cast. So we have Jisoo, who is the teen pimp.
He's our main character.
He's our main character. He is while also being a teen pimp, one of the most awkward loner characters I've ever seen.
He is unbearably awkward. He's
so awkward. Like
so awkward.
For someone who's in this world of absolute chaos, he's also the character who is just he has so many panic attacks in this show, because anytime anything goes slightly out of it, he just goes into like
just
like
a
full-blown panic attack,
like mental unraveling breakdown. Like every single time.
Then we have
Yuri, who is so she is this rich girl who is at the top of her class and everything.
She's also there's no main villain of there everyone's a villain of this show.
Yes.
Personally, she is the reason everything goes wrong in this boy's life.
Oh, this poor boy,
This poor boy went through a lot in this show, and like the thing with her, and the thing that almost makes her more unsympathetic, because she's
definitely a sociopath.
She's a sociopath.
Has deep mental problems.
She has fantasies about killing her parents. Her parents, who do seem neglectful, but do not seem in any way abusive.
They're not abusive at all.
They're just neglectful. They just have a lot, but also she doesn't seem to want to interact with them.
They're pretty neglectful, and I think they have really high standards for her, but they're not like mentally like abusive of her in any way.
No, it's just sort of like your stereotypical, to go with stereotypes, the stereotypical Asian parent who like wants everything to be done the specific way. And sort of with her, there's like, she's doing this, she gets involved with Jisoo, and she essentially blackmails him and also gets all of his money stolen by his actually abusive father. Like, Jisoo has actually abusive parents. Actually, really, we only meet his father. We don't know what happened to his mother.
The mother is just really
probably
a mystery.
Just up and bounced. Like, I don't think she's dead. I think she just literally up and bounced. And then
his dad stole all of his money
and spent it on crypto. It was like $60,000.
Immediately lost it all on crypto.
It was $60,000.
It was so much money. It was a lot.
It was a suitcase, and like the thing is, Gyuri is sort of the reason she entirely gets into this because she's bored.
She's bored, and she thinks it's a game.
And like this is this poor, like, I feel
That's his
sympathy
life.
for
Like, he
Jisoo.
is fighting for his
For
life
his
here,
survival,
essentially.
like-
and he's here because he needs to make money, and because his parents are worthless, and his dad just stole all of his life savings.
Essentially, like, they just left him in ninth grade and were just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, here is just, like, they just up and left him in this apartment, so he's got to make rent money, food money, and then
He can't pay
possibly
for school.
He can't pay
he's
for
trying
school.
to go
He
to
can't
school.
go to his, and he also
Yeah.
can't go to, like, for his, like, because you see in the show, when he loses all of his money, like, he has a spreadsheet of exactly how much money he has to have in his bank or in his apartment, because he can't use banks,
Mm-hmm.
for him to be able to go, because he wants to get into a Sky University. Haha, Sky. But and so he has essentially made a detailed list of, like, how much I'm gonna need for room and board, tuition, this, that. This is how much I need to have saved up, while also having to pay my bills that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just so detailed, and it's heartbreaking because when the money gets stolen, he has to say his savings is zero, and he's back to square one, and it's heartbreaking.
It's really
And
sad.
she's
He
treating
dropped
this
out
like
of
a
school
game.
for a while to try to get a job because, like, he has no money.
Yeah. And then you see, and this is also just sort of commentary on the Korean education system, when he goes to zero, he can't pay for his after-school tutoring sessions. And he goes from being at, like, the top of his class, he's one of the best students, to essentially failing because he does not have the ability to keep up with everybody else because he's poor now.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of, his life is just completely ruined by her, and then she sort of wedges herself into his life because she's like, oh, well, the only way you're gonna go back to making any money is if I'm there, because I'm gonna ruin this for you. She's a complete sociopath. I think she is almost the real, her and a character we're gonna get to soon are the true people I have zero sympathy for.
Oh, yeah.
Because she has no reason to be doing this.
She makes me upset, like, very upset the entire time.
I think toward the end, she does show herself to care about him as a human being. Like, I don't think she's completely heartless. But I do think that her decision to do this is a completely selfish decision. Whereas with Jisoo, I don't think he's a completely selfish person.
No, he was, like, very much pushed to, like, the edge of his limits, and, what else was he gonna do with his life?
Because the other thing is, like, for as much as he's a pimp, he treats his girls well. Like, he makes sure that they are protected. He gives them none of the girls complain that he takes too much. Like, everybody gets a fair cut of everything else, and he's saved a lot of money. Like, it's a quote unquote good business. It's still prostitution, but still, it's like, and also he does not know that he's unknowingly doing a teenage prostitute, which we're gonna get to next.
Yep. Okay. Here it is.
The teenage prostitute is Min-hee. She is the classmate of Jisoo and Gyuri's, and she's
a really confusing character to me.
I go back and forth with her because she essentially is doing this because she needs money, but also she wants to buy her boyfriend presents. Like, she is sort of the cool girl at school. He's the cool boy. They're, like, the power couple. And so she wants to keep him because he has zero interest in her, really.
Yeah. And it's said multiple times that she has, like, a fine home. She was, like, an aunt and uncle, and they are financially fine. And so it's not like she's doing it for the money. Yeah. She is doing it solely to keep her boyfriend, essentially.
She's doing it for pocket money, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think she doesn't particularly want, like, I think
she was not forced
very quickly. Yeah,
she wasn't forced into it at all. Like, she's it's of her own will.
Age a secret because like no one knows that she, like, Jisoo and his partner, who we're gonna get to, both do not know that this girl is underage, and I think if they were to have found out that, they would have just cut, because they do, when they find out that she's underage, they try to cut her out.
They're like, they fire her, essentially. Like, you need to leave.
Like, you need to not, like, this is gonna cause us, not even just for that, I don't think they want her in this, because not only is it gonna cause them major problems, but also, like, you're an underage, like, you cannot be doing this.
I know.
Please
and then,
stop doing this.
Mr. Lee also has, like, a relatively, like, good relationship with her, and he knows that she's gone through, like, some very traumatic things working, and he was like, you shouldn't be here anymore. Like, you need to, like, just go be a high schooler.
like, she doesn't need to be doing this, which is
Mhm.
the other thing, is just, like, there's a lot of characters in this show where, like, there's characters in the show that, like, you can almost categorize them in two things. Characters that need to be doing this and characters that do not.
Yeah.
Jisoo and Mr. Lee fall into characters that, like, this is sort of one of their few options that they have.
Yeah.
Minhee and Gyuri fall more into the category of, like, well, I could be doing 8 other things, but the characters that
we just decide to be doing
illegal
work
illegal
here,
prostitution. So, like, but the thing with her, she's also becomes very sympathetic. Especially with, like, there's certain scenes, like, there's certain way, like, people do, like, especially when her classmates find out that she was a prostitute, which, that's just such a weird sentence to say.
It is.
When her classmates find out that she was willingly a teenage prostitute, and, like, they just treat her poorly.
Yeah.
And I do think that she does genuinely care for her boyfriend.
She does,
in a way.
I think he also does care for her.
He cares for her, but also I think he's a sociopath.
He is a bad person. He is definitely a bad person.
One of the few characters with almost zero redeeming qualities is her boyfriend, Kite, who is also one of the main characters in this show. And he's an absolute sociopath.
I don't consider him a main character as much on the level anyone else, because we don't see him that often.
No, but he's almost essentially the main villain, because he does stab Jisoo in the end.
He does indeed.
So he in a way is sort of a continuous villain in this show, where, like, he is just constantly there making someone's life a living hell. Like, he's a bully. He's essentially your high school bully.
Yeah.
But, like, if you know 80s movies, you know the high school bully that's gonna try to legitimately kill you?
That's him.
He's that high school.
He's
the extra level of high school bully.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of anything interesting about him other than that, because we don't see a lot of him, really. He's just there to be a bully.
I wish we knew more about him. Because I do think that there would be a way for it to just maybe drop some lines. Because he also essentially has, like, these little, like, he bullies people to the point where they're essentially his, like, little lackeys.
He's got, like, his, like, group of goons. He's got, like, 25 plus people that will just follow him around.
The weird thing also is that, like, in the beginning, like, the first episode, he accidentally hits Jisoo with, like, he causes one of the kids to accidentally hit Jisoo with, like, a basketball. And, like, he legitimately almost seems to apologize and doesn't bully him. Like, he, like, kisses his head and was just like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what is...
Like, what's going on here?
Like, what's
with your head, buddy?
With you? Like, what is this whole... Like, what is this facade that you... Both the facade that you have and also, like... Like, what's happening here?
What is happening with him? Who knows, honestly.
He's a complex character that I just wish we knew a little... Like, I don't want this... Like, we'll get to it, but I don't want this show to have a season 2.
No, I don't either.
Shouldn't. And also, I don't know how he would be a part of it, but, like, I think that he is just sort of a character that we just needed, like, maybe a scene where we saw, like, are you a bully because you are a sociopath? Or do you have, like, or this, like, more fucked up home lives?
Yeah.
Like, are him and Jisoo more kindred spirits in the way where he is outwardly... like, monstrous, and Jisoo is more like that inward monstrousness where it's like, I am just gonna become a criminal overlord.
Yeah.
I could see, that'd be a fun, like, mirror image.
Right. So other characters that are pretty important is, Mr. Lee, who is this older middle-aged man that Jisoo hires essentially to act as, like, protection for all of his prostitutes. Yeah.
His girls. And the other thing with Mr. Lee falls in the category of people that need to be doing this because he was homeless.
Yeah.
So, like, this is what's keeping him off of the cold streets, man. And he's a badass.
He is really a badass. He's a cool dude. He is, like, an inherently good dude.
Like, he cares about these girls. Like, these girls seem to have a good relationship with him. Like, and they trust him. Like, the first scene of the show, if we want to talk about, like, you remember the actual first scene of the show?
Yeah.
Where it's, like,
this weird kidnapping... I don't understand who that guy was supposed to murder, kidnapper person.
I think he was gonna rape and murder this girl.
I think I wasn't entirely sure if he was there to kill them or not, but
I don't know, but like essentially just sort of it's a very interesting way to start this, which is like it's legitimately a prostitute handcuffed and ball gagged in a bathtub, and like he's about to like I think cut off her hair and kill her.
mm-hmm.
And essentially Jisoo gives them almost like if you've ever seen like thin Fitbits where it's like if they tap it, it sends like an alert of like help, we're in trouble to him, and then he calls Mr. Lee in, and Mr. Lee essentially just beats this guy up.
Yeah.
And they just take all his money, and then like that just sort of sets the tone for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And like the girls trust him, and like it's a good like before Yuri comes in and ruins everything. I think that everybody had a good working relationship because it's like group of like what 4? You see them all in the room at one point, and I think with Min-hee it's like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah. Who else is important? Really?
I don't think no one else is truly the homeroom teacher, if we want to mention him.
He's just around, and he's there to be like
he's
good
almost
person.
Yeah, he's almost supposed to be, I think, the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Where it's like he sort of brings different things up. Like he's meant to sort of like he cares about these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the policewoman.
Oh, there's Gangster Man.
Oh, the gangster. Sure.
I hate that his name is Dale. I hate that that's his name.
That's funny. Yeah. He's... How do we
He's also a really bad person.
Oh, no, he's legitimately the most unsympathetic character in that there is nothing to his character other than he's a gangster that wants to take over the business.
And he literally just, like, murders people all the time.
So much murder.
And it's like, it's not even, like, just, like, he's gonna, like, shoot people. He, like, fucking, like, change them to a bed and cuts off their limbs.
Yeah, there's, like, a Dexter-style torture chamber. Yeah. Everything is just covered in plastic.
And that's happened, like, twice where they get the wrong person, and they're, like, in the middle of, like, cutting off an arm, and they're like, oh, wait.
Oh, wait, no. It's not the dude we're looking for. Also, we missed the best character.
Oh, yes, we did. Indeed. The Hermit Crab.
The Hermit Crab.
Best character.
Best boy is the Hermit Crab.
He gets, Hermit Crab 1 gets killed pretty early.
Yeah, Jisoo has a pet Hermit Crab, which is, you know, a metaphor for the fact that he is, you know,
a hermit.
He is a hermit in a shell. And you also see the very recurring thing of him just covered in a blanket.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, first Hermit Crab gets, like, stepped on by his father as
when
he's
his
stealing all his
robbing
money.
him.
And then Yuri gives him second Hermit Crab, like, here.
Mm-hmm. Have a new one.
I hope second Hermit Crab got a good home after the
end. Hope he's doing okay.
I hope he's doing good. I hope that they didn't kill second Hermit Crab.
They might have had to, I think he was trying to give it to Min-hee or something. Because he had the Hermit Crab when he went to talk to her, but I don't know what happened to him.
I mean, the last shot is, like, them giving water to the Hermit Crab. But I don't know if that's a metaphor, because this show also has a lot of dream sequences.
A lot of dream sequences. So many.
So, there's one dream sequence where Jisoo is essentially... This is actually a scene that was spoiled for me. Where I had seen the scene before I had watched the show, where it was Jisoo just pulling, like, a plastic tarp with Min-hee's body in it. And I was like, oh my god, where the hell does this show go? Is he gonna kill her?
Just a murderer.
Turns out it's a dream sequence. Turns out that's a dream sequence. He does kill Min-hee, and we'll get to it.
He does, indeed.
But it's a different context. I thought he just straight up killed her and was disposing of the body.
No,
he's
not that bad.
No, he's not a cold-blooded murderer. He's just an accidental murderer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like, there's, like, actual, like, a bunch of dream sequences that are just sort of, like, they're not that hard to interpret. Like, they're just metaphors for the fact that Jisoo feels like he's, one, losing control, and also, like, a bad person. Which, again, he is losing control. This whole show goes from, like, him being an okay person to then they figure out that, like, essentially with Yuri's help, they essentially destroy the business, have a bunch of gangsters try to take it over, and Min-hee is discovered. They try to fire her. She's like, no. Then she gets found out and was, like, revealed to the world as a teenage prostitute.
Yep.
And then,
it's
Jisoo
the
throws her
last
down
like
the stairs.
third of the drama is them just dealing with these gangster people all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like incredibly frustrating, just
it's just
everything that happens with them.
It's just over and over them just dealing with these gangsters of like, they just keep coming back.
I know, it's like they're not satisfied enough because like, oh, I'll teach you how to do this thing, but then it's like Yuri is like, no, we're not doing that, and there's like,
again, Yuri, I really feel
garbage.
Like got the thing with Yuri, and this is sort of a realization I've come to, is I think that she is in over her head, but refuses to admit that she's in over her head. Like she still thinks I think she literally Jisoo is stabbed by Kite going down the stairs, and she, I think, still has this feeling like she's in control.
Yeah.
When everything has just spiraled to beyond, like, 2 high schoolers' control, which I think they're maybe 17, 18 years old. Like, these are very young. And the thing is, like, the actors are very young, too.
They are very young.
Like, we checked, the actors were, like, between the 4 people we went over from, like, age 20 to 25. And that's and if this was any other show, one of them would have been played by an idol.
Oh, yeah. Cannot put idols in the show.
No, there's a reason that none of these people have ever been an idol, are trying to be an idol, or any kind of trainee. None of it.
No. Can't do that.
They're not even from a failed group. Nope. This is the most un-idol drama I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. There's just a lot of weird moments in this drama.
It's almost impossible to explain because it's just 10 hours of insanity.
Yeah, it really is.
So do you want to talk about the ending?
Sure. So I've seen a lot of discussion on the ending and people thinking it's unsatisfying, but I feel like it's very open-ended because essentially what happens is they kill the gangsters. They kill the gangsters.
The gangsters
police woman is pretty sure
that she knows
what's
that Jisoo
happening
is
now.
The mastermind. Because Jisoo makes it a point to be very cautious about everything.
Yeah.
And then Gyuri is just sort of like, no one can touch me. I'm out, and I'm just like, no.
Right before this, Yuri blackmails her parents to give her a shit ton of money so she can fly to Australia and escape.
Which, again, I don't think flying to Australia is going to get you out of this.
Nope.
But sure. Yeah, so she's just very out in the open about all this. And then Kite finds out that Jisoo... Well, no. Jisoo goes to meet Minhee and is like, hey, I'm sorry about all this, but like...
He apologizes to her, and he lets
her
know that
pimp.
he was the pimp, essentially.
And she gets mad, but I'm like, someone was your pimp.
Yeah.
Who'd you think it was?
And you were doing it... She was doing it willingly, too, and I'm just like...
she didn't force you. You lied to him.
Yeah.
No one was forcing
equal amount
you
of
to
lying to him. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an equal amount of, and also like you were okay. Like, what is it? Would it have been better if it was some like 57-year-old creep?
That's probably worse.
Like that's way worse. But still, the logistics of prostitution we're not going to get into.
We're not going to get into that.
But like in terms of everything else, like and then they get into this fight, and he pushes her down the stairs.
Yep.
And like you know exactly what's gonna happen because the scene starts and they're at the top of a very, very steep flight of stairs.
Yeah,
and you're
it's like, wonder what's gonna happen.
Just like, I wonder what's gonna. And also, I know it's not gonna be him. We're half an hour out of the end of the show, so it's gonna be her.
Like, I wonder what's happening here.
So she dies.
So shocking.
He takes her phone and then goes to his apartment, and Kite is essentially he's trying to flee. Kite comes in and is like, "Oh, you were my girl's pimp, huh?" I don't know how he finds that out.
What? I feel like there's something in there about him finding it out.
Yeah, at some point
I think he calls Minhee's phone and he has it. I'm pretty sure.
But like, why? But then I thought he went there because he had a suspicion.
Yeah.
That something was going on with Jisoo and Minhee, and then he calls her.
And I think that maybe he found out that he killed her because she's got the phone. I don't.
Yeah, but he was already in his apartment,
right?
So I don't know why he went. Kite for some reason went to his apartment and then figured out that Minhee is dead and Jisoo killed her because he has her cracked phone.
Yeah.
So then he essentially grabs a knife and stabs him. And then Gyuri comes in and knocks Kite out. and then they try to like flee.
Yeah.
They essentially get to the
He's
edge.
bleeding out of his stomach.
Out. Yeah, he's bleeding out, which again, depending on where he stabbed him, like it's fully, like, your abdomen's a very large cavity. I don't think, unless he hit an artery, which there's only one major artery in your, he could have lived. He could have very easily lived, depending on how he stabbed him. The worst thing is that they pulled out the knife, so he's bleeding out. The thing is that he needs help soon. Sorry, I just went through my medical. I was just like, no, there's the logistics here. It's possible. Like, it's not a fatal wound. Like, he could be fine.
Yeah.
And then sort of like they run down the stairs. There's blood everywhere.
They're leaving a blood trail everywhere they go because he is bleeding.
He is bleeding out. Giddy is covered in blood. At one point, she dyes her hair red and cuts it because I think I guess that's gonna be her disguise when they flee to Australia. And so like they make it to like the landing of a stairwell, and then it sort of fades out from them. Yeah, it fades out from them, and it follows the policewoman going to Jisoo's apartment, and she finds it completely ransacked. Kite is not there.
Kite's gone, yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, I'm like, did he just get up and run?
Just got up and
where did
left,
he go?
yeah.
Like, where did he go? Did he meet up with them at some point?
I'm assuming there's probably a pretty decent amount of time had to have elapsed from when that happened.
All the blood is completely dry. Yeah. All the blood is completely dry, and she goes to the landing, and they're gone.
Yeah.
So we don't know, like, did they die we don't know what happened from there, and then it just cuts to, like, the city of Seoul.
Yeah.
Here's just the skyline of Seoul. They're out there somewhere. So that's essentially a rundown of the last episode of the show. Oh, also at some point Mr. Lee gets killed by the gangsters.
That was in the final fight because who's the guy? Kite brings his thugs of people once he finds out that it's not correct. He thinks that Minhee works there. And that's where her pimp is.
At essentially a brothel. He thinks Minhee's working at a brothel and not like an online contact sex work.
And so he brings his like gang of 25 of his goons, and they go and they beat everyone up there.
High schoolers. It's high schoolers versus adult
they
adult
ride
gangsters.
in on like mopeds or motorcycles.
I think there was an actual
they have
bicycle
just like
in there.
iron pipes and shit.
Baseball bats. Like, it's bad.
And they're just here, and they're gonna fight these full-on like gangsters.
It's the most insane scene in this whole show. Because it's also like a group of high school, like they're screaming before they go in. They essentially take a stand and just scream up into the apartments.
Right.
And they just make themselves known, and I'm like, this is insane.
It's good timing though, because Jisoo and Yuri are about to be killed by the gangster when they come.
And they kind of get out of it.
Them, yeah. Like, some good K-drama timing there.
I also think that might be where Kite figures out the Jisoo, because I think they meet up somewhere there. Like, he sees them, or they, like, something there might be how he finds out that he needs to go see Jisoo.
What was it? Oh, I think it was because he found the hat there that Minhee was going to give him as a present, but then Minhee gave it to Jisoo. But he didn't know that. He thought it was just Minhee's, but then Minhee somehow, something clicks in her head about he was there somehow, and maybe she tells that to Kite. I don't really. I don't remember it. There's
the last
a lot
episode is a bit of a blur.
Yeah,
the last episode's a bit of a blur. Again, Mr. Lee dies, essentially killing the head pimp.
The head gangster, yeah.
Yeah, the head pimp. The head gangster gets killed by Mr. Lee in, like, a bare-knuckle boxing match. Where, like, they both just, like, beat each other to death.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Mr. Lee.
He deserved better.
He deserved way better. He was a very sweet guy.
He was.
He cared about those girls.
Probably my favorite character besides the Hermit Crab.
Nah, it's the Hermit Crab. It's Hermit Crab then Mr. Lee.
Yep.
Because everybody else just essentially goes off the rails and just makes, like, they become sociopath. Like, Jisoo himself is pushed to being as bad as everybody else.
He's really pushed his limit, yeah. And it's bad. He's pretty bad by the end of the drama.
Yeah. And then sort of, again, the ending itself, a lot of people have debated whether the ending is unsatisfied. I don't think this show could have ended. Like, I think a happy ending with them in Australia, that's unrealistic for this show.
Yeah.
An ending where they both die. that's
It's not-
closed, but it's just I think
It's sad. It's like it makes it really tragic, sort of.
yeah, I think that just sort of they're living on the run. I genuinely think that that's sort of what the ending's implying when it sort
Yeah.
of goes over the cityscape of Seoul, where it's like they're just out there somewhere, gonna live their lives. I wonder what they're gonna do for cash because they can't go to university. Like this is really what's gonna push them to a life of crime.
Yeah, honestly.
So this show was insane.
It was a show. Should we should we end it with what shows we decided to follow it up with immediately afterwards?
So right after we finished this, because we finished this about like I think you finished it before I did, and I finished it maybe a day after you did.
I started it and I started to tell Sammy like the details, and she was like, I need to watch it now.
There was one scene. There was
Oh
the
my
one
God.
scene where Kisei buys a fleshlight. What is essentially they don't call it anything, but you see it.
You know
it's
what it
fleshlight.
is, yeah.
You know what it is, and just to basically put it in Jisoo's backpack to essentially get him in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's just like we were just talking and we're like
I was watching it while we were on a voice call, and I was watching it and I had to play it again. I was like, did he just like casually pull out a fleshlight out of his backpack behind this school? And I was like, what?
And then I immediately
what are they doing?
Immediately I finished watching what I was watching and then watched that.
I know, and then I was like, oh, because that's when I also told you that it was about, like, underage prostitution.
And that's when we realized
instead of drugs or gambling.
Gambling or drugs. No, it's underage prostitution, which is far worse than either of us expected.
Man. I was, for sure.
So, right after you finished that, what did you decide that you were gonna watch?
So, I need to be in the mood to watch certain dramas, and I was still very much in the dark crime drama mood, and so I decided to follow it up with Strangers from Hell. And
which
in comparison to this show, is on a whole new level of, like, fucked up and crazy.
Whole nother level. Is worse.
It is
I will say
so much worse.
I tried watching Strangers from Hell. I got about 4 episodes in, realized I was not in the correct headspace. Like, I can handle it. I was just not in the right headspace to do 10. It's 10 episodes, right?
It's 10 episodes.
10 hours of that.
It is the most unsettling show I have ever watched in my life.
Take the creepiest scene you've seen in a horror. Take how you feel. Because every time I was watching Extracurricular, which I'm so happy that show was not aired episode by episode.
I'm also glad it's only 10 episodes. I feel like that was a good length for it, too.
Yeah. Because that show, when you watch Extracurricular, you constantly have this feeling of, like, I just felt stressed the whole time.
Yeah.
I just felt stressed. And then when it got really bad, I was just, like, I felt even more stressed. I was, like, starting to, like, I'm, like... And then Strangers from Hell, I just sort of felt uncomfortable, uneasy, and, like, I was, like something was gonna happen to me.
Yeah,
like,
it's really on another level of just creepy and unsettling and bizarre, and it
doesn't give you a break.
No, it does not. And in
like,
comparison to Extracurricular, it is literally like this. Extracurricular is nothing compared to that show.
Extracurricular is like the baby Strangers. Some of the characters from Extracurricular could grow up to be the people from Strangers from Hell.
You know, that's fair. Very fair.
But it's not the same, like, but it's like baby versions. Oh, there's also that weird other thing of, like, before we go on, I also think that this show could take place in the same universe as Sky Castle.
Oh, yes.
Because the main character, Jisoo, is also played by the only way I can describe him is the
less interesting twin.
Less interesting twin from Sky Castle, which is also the quieter twin from Sky Castle.
Yes.
And I think that this could just be what's happening in, like, the poor part of Seoul. In Sky Castle's universe. Like, these two shows could take place in the same universe.
And then it's funny because Yuri very much is in, like, a Sky Castle-like situation. Like, with she's got rich parents and shit. They have high expectations for her. She's at the top of her class. Like, very Sky Castle.
Maybe if her rich parents had been more focused on her studying and got her a million tutors, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Maybe. You should have tried harder, Yuri's parents.
Yeah, Yuri's parents. I blame you for not being more involved in her unrealistic expectations for her education. This is your fault.
Yeah, your fault.
But yeah, no, you went to Strangers from Hell. I decided I need a palate cleanser and watched My Engineer, the Thai drama, and then started watching Where Your Eyes Linger. So I went straight for, like, I need
the
fluffy...
cute romance.
Cute romance with cute boys falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite spectrum.
I need a palette, which is why your top tags are death and mystery.
Murder, you know?
And mine are happy ending and love triangle.
Yep. A pretty good representation there.
That's a good representation of how we do this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, overall, this might be one of my favorite shows I've watched this year.
This is the only show I've watched. It's the only 2020 drama I've watched this year.
It's by far my favorite Korean show I've watched this year, but I've only watched this. I'm watching Where Your Eyes Linger. That's a tongue twister. And Crash Landing on You.
Yeah.
So of the three, this is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
It's so interesting.
It's different. Because again, a lot of these shows... Because a lot of Korean dramas are very creepy. But they're not usually creepy and like this serious with such a young cast. I think the fact that it's set in high school is very unique.
Yeah.
Because like things like Strangers from Hell and all those other shows are set very much with adults. Or at least the adults are the villains. And it's like teenagers trying to beat the adult villains.
Right.
In this, the gangsters are the villains, but none of these people are good people.
It's interesting because you don't really know who to root for this entire thing, because your main characters that you're supposedly, that's usually who you root for, they're obviously criminals. The girl is a sociopath. Jisoo's turning into like a sociopath, and it's like you have this police officer, and it's like you don't even want to root for her really, because it's like you don't want your main characters to get caught, but it's like they're criminals, and so it's you go through an interesting like personal experience watching it.
This show sort of like you look at it and you're like, it's not a traditional show where you have good guys and bad guys. It's just painting a picture and you can decide where you kind of want to put yourself, because I think like that's why I like the ending so much. You can decide what happened, because again, if you think that eventually they're gonna get caught and brought to justice, probably. If you think that they're gonna build a new life of crime, maybe. If you think that Jisoo bled out and died, he very well could have.
Yeah.
Like, you can
there's a lot of ways you can interpret it.
Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like whatever moral alignment that you want to put to it, you can put to it. It's a very open-ended show. I don't want it to have a season 2. I think it'd be a terrible season 2.
I do not want it. I probably, okay, I'm not going to say I wouldn't watch it, because I probably would, because I'd be curious, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Because I
would watch it and then complain the entire time, probably.
Then our second episode on this where we're like, this was terrible.
It's a bad idea. Do not make a season 2.
Luckily, Korean shows don't usually do a season 2 no matter how popular.
You know what I would like is if they do a similar theme, but just with a completely new cast of people. Like, Save Me 2 is not a sequel to Save Me. It's just a completely separate show that's, like, sort of in the same, like, realm genre of the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like that.
Maybe they can take our ideas. The next one is about
gambling
an illegal
and drugs.
Gambling ring.
I would feel less bad about watching a gambling and drugs one than an underage prostitution show.
Because the thing with that is that, like, you can have your opinions about, like, whether or not, your opinions about prostitution. There is one character in the show that is legitimately committing the worst crime, which is Minhee. Like, underage prostitution. Like, that is the part where it sort of becomes like, oh, no, this is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because, like, you are...
It's bad.
Yeah. I think we just wanted to do this episode just because we wanted to just talk about our feelings about this show. We had a lot of feelings
about this show, and this is also the first show of this year that 2 people on the podcast have watched, so...
Probably Dan
will not watch this show. So.
This is not a show for... If you watch Dan's top 5 shows, this is the opposite of every single one of those shows.
We've got, like, rich people in there, so he hates the rich people. We've got all the murder and the crime.
There's nothing is light and fluffy. There's no good people in this.
Yeah, there's no arguing over paperwork.
Oh god, there's no office jobs.
Right?
There's no light romance.
Mm-hmm. Not the show for Dan.
This show has zero romance. Even though they try to play up a romance of Gyuri and Jisoo, I do not think that would ever happen.
It never gets there.
No. I think that the most we get is that I think she does start to see him as a person.
Yeah,
in the beginning,
that's
I
not
think she
saying a
sees him as a
lot
toy.
for someone who is a sociopath.
Again, I like to give her the benefit of the doubt where it's like in the beginning she does just see him. I think she sees him as a pure toy.
Oh, for
He
sure.
is a toy for her entertainment, and his life does not matter to her.
For sure.
Then she starts to see him as a human being with wants and feelings and agency, and he actually starts to stand up for himself in front of her. So that was our rambling opinions on Extracurricular.
Yep.
Oh boy.
I feel like you have to have watched the show if you're listening to this podcast, so I'm not going to tell you to go watch it, because you probably have.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, I think you've seen it, or you have zero interest in seeing it.
Right, exactly.
But it's probably one of the best shows I've watched this year. It's maybe the best show that's come out this year, in terms of Korean dramas.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know, what are the other contenders?
Itaewon
Crash Landing
Class.
on You, Itaewon. I haven't seen Itaewon Class, but Crash Landing on You is good, but a little.
There's that.
It's very
that cat
it's
show
more cookie cutter.
That Elle is in.
Oh, Meow.
Meow, the secret boy.
Meow, the secret boy, which Vicky very much wants me to watch, and I have zero interest in watching.
I
the
love
show
Elle.
where Elle is
I
a
am
cat.
not watching that show.
I'll just watch Angel, The Last Mission.
I know. I'll watch that first.
I'll watch that one before I'm gonna watch Meow, the secret boy.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
No, we're just rambling now.
Yep. So that was the episode.
That was our extracurricular episode.
That's our review of Extracurricular. Yep.
rants.
I'd give it maybe I think I gave it a 9 out of 10.
I think I gave it an 8.5 or a 9, yeah.
It's a good show, guys. It's
Good
very
show.
uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. Prepare to be uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable
From like
show.
beginning to end. I got chest pain at one point.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I had chest pain.
Mm-hmm.
I was that stressed.
Oh gosh.
But if you think you can handle it, I'd recommend watching it.
For sure.
All right. Well, that was our episode.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
And we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.